Hello, everybody. This is Rebecca Straley with Go Straley Group, and we're going to talk about CAAR forms and purchasing a property or selling a property in the DC marketplace. Sometimes we have contingencies, and it's very nice that we have forms that have been researched by the realtor associations, and of course, we always offer equal housing opportunity. So for Addendum of Clauses B, we are going to look at the document, which is 4 pages long, and it starts off with the names, the date of the contract, the names of the buyer, and the name of the seller. And you want to make sure that this is completed, not forgotten. Buyer and seller names are very important, and of course, the legal description as much as possible to identify the property correctly. It is agreed that only the numbered paragraph, which are checked and initialed by all parties, shall be a part of this contract. So, for instance, if we want the buyer to have a contingency with a kick-out clause, then we want to make sure that we check this box and initial it, as it states up here legally how we're supposed to complete the information. So if we check and initial, then I would be expecting that all of these lines are filled in, and if for any reason they did not apply, then we would put an NA or not applicable. So here the contract is contingent until 6 p.m. on, let's say, the 30th day after the date of ratification. This is why the date of ratification is so very important, because all of our clauses are tied to that date, and we count our days. Upon the seller of the buyer's property located at, we're putting the address in here, including city, state, and zip, as complete as possible so everybody knows which property we are talking about. And then we say that the seller may continue to offer the property, and seller will deliver a notice to the buyer requiring that the contingency be satisfied or removed if there is another contract. And again, we want to say, well, how many days does that buyer have after he's notified that the kick-out clause, that somebody else has come in and he either needs to buy the house and provide financing or go find another house. B, buyer's property will be listed exclusively and actively marketed. And it will be put into the multiple listing, because we want to make sure that the seller has every opportunity and this buyer has every opportunity to make sure that this contract goes into fruition. So we're saying, how much will that house be listed for, or at least the house will not be listed over this amount. And we go on with our information and the standards that both buyer and seller are going to operate upon. If buyer satisfies the requirement, then what happens? The contract will remain contingent upon the settlement of the sale of the buyer's property. And settlement upon the contract may not be delayed more than how many days after settlement, unless the parties, of course, if they write and say, okay, we'll wait longer. But right here, since we're relying on another group of people to go through the settlement of the buyer's home, maybe we allow an additional 3 days or a week in case there is a problem, so that our contract would stay in effect. So, and if that doesn't apply, if they don't want to do that, then just put 0 or NA, but make sure that you fill out all the blanks. Settlement of buyer's property contingency. Maybe they already have their home under contract. And so we would just put the address of the property, and this is the information that relates to this contingency. And we would allow them so many days after settlement, since they're relying on this additional party that is beyond their control. And oftentimes it's just a nice gesture, even if we allowed them 3 dage. Backup contract or offer. So this could be not the primary contract, but this contract might be the backup contract. And so we have to identify it's a backup to another contract or offer dated, whatever the date is between the seller and the buyer. And we put the buyer's names here. And we just want to make sure, again, that everybody's on an equal playing field and they know what conditions and what contracts and what properties and how many days. So very important to fill in all the blanks. If the contract dated, and this is the original contract, settles, this backup contract will become void. And additionally, the date for settlement will be so many days after the date this date becomes primary. Because obviously, if the other contract went out 3 days before settlement, then we would need 30 days or 60 days. So put your number of days that the buyer would need to take action so that he could or she could then go forward to settlement and meet all the obligations. Contingent on sellers purchasing another home. Sometimes they want to sell their home, get it under contract, and then go find another home. So again, this would be like the 30th day after the date of ratification, however long both parties agree. The lead-based paint inspection contingency is so very important. Do not skip this. The contract is contingent until 6 p.m. on whatever date after the date of ratification, must be 10 days or such other period as shall be mutually agreed to the buyer and seller. So it would be nice to go with the 10 days as is common or customary in what we see in our laws. So after we're taking this action here and we're describing what action will be taken, we have to say what the choices are. So they will have choice A or choice B. So they can go through here, and if they act this way, then these are the responses, and if they go this way, then the contract would be void. So they have the opportunity to do either. Pre-settlement occupancy addendum. So sometimes the buyer would like to get in there early because they will commence the settlement on such a date the parties agree the buyer shall occupy the property prior to settlement, and this is the date that they're going to occupy it, commencing, say, on the first day of May, and how much they're going to pay each day until they go to settlement. So if our settlement were May 15th, and they were going to occupy on the first day of May, put the year in here, 2018, just to be clear, then everybody would know that they are expecting 15 days and how much money that will attribute. Third-party approval, not for use with short sales. So this is not for banks, but would be maybe a parent or maybe a husband or wife or domestic partner is out of town. And so we want to make sure that this third party has time to see what they're obligating themselves to. And so we put in the name of the person and the day or the number of days. Brokerage fee paid by the buyer. It is understood and agreed all parties that the company name, eXp Realty, and the agent's name is acting as an agent solely representing the buyer. So the buyer is paying the brokerage fee here, and it addresses that. So we want to make sure to put whoever is representing the buyer, their company name, and the agent's name. Master plan review for Montgomery County. Today we're not talking about Maryland, so we will just skip by that one. Post-settlement, air conditioning or swimming pool. And so just check the correct party, and then all the verbiage here will apply. 1031 exchange. It could be for the buyer or it could be for the seller. So check the correct party, but all the parties initial here, and you check this box to make sure that that 1031 exchange clause is activated. And then you have room for additional provisions. There's sometimes special cases. And here we go. We're all done with our clause B. And all the sellers and all the buyers need to date. Please be sure the dates are in there, and sign the agreement. And this is the completion of the review of how to fill out CAAR Form 1339, Addendum of Clauses B. Congratulations on your contract, and look forward to our buyers and sellers having their dreams come true.